Hello, listeners. Today's episode is for everyone. Tune in as I get a chance to sit down with an amazing actor and professional stunt woman, Krystle Martin, as she takes us through her journey in performing life stunts and acting, and a little combination of both. Krystle shares with us her incredible experience in stunt world and her amazing optimism to see the best in everything. In today's session, you're in for a treat because this woman is literally on fire. So tune in and enjoy. Welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and as always, this is a place where I like to provide inspirations for practical application and entertainment. And today I have an actor, a stunt woman, motion cap artist, and getting a little bit more into the stunt coordinating world. I have with us today Krystle Martin. Say hi, Krystle.
Hi, so wonderful to be on. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you are in a movie right now that is in theaters. It'll probably be streaming soon because I believe at the time of this recording, it might have left theaters, but it's called The Mean One. And you starred in it and you performed your own stunts.
That's right. I played Cindy, and we were expecting it to eventually go to streaming, but then it hit the internet and everyone loved the idea and it just got a ton of press. And then before we knew it, we were in theaters.
That's so cool.
And it got extended 3 times and we're all just enjoying the ride. It's been insane.
That's so awesome. And now this is an independent feature, correct?
Yes. Yeah. We all just were getting together with a bunch of friends mostly and filming something for fun. And it took off. It's been great.
That's so cool. Now, you're one of my first guests on here that I believe is finally made it as a career. You are within the union working in studio features and television series, but you still do apparently independent work on the side as well, which is incredible. Can you kind of take us through a little bit of your journey? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I actually started in acting. That was my first love. I went to a conservatory in Northern California. They unfortunately no longer have it anymore, but it's called the Actor Training Program at Solano Community College, and it was invaluable to train there. And I had done high school drama and that's where I first got the bug and then decided I wanted to make it a career. So I did that actor training program for 2 years and then I transferred into the School of Theater, Film and Television at UCLA.
Wow. That's an impressive background right there.
And then it was just really important to me to go to college because I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I don't think that needs to be the path for everyone, but it was important for me to get a degree. I have a younger brother and sister that I really wanted to set a good example for.
Hey, that's great.
Thanks.
I know from my personal experience, I did something similar. I went to school for basically an associate's degree in telecommunications and film and some other stuff related to the business. But unfortunately for me, none of what I did for school ever actually got me the career that I needed in film. But I did make it. I finally found my own path. Has any of that background experience for you, has the schooling in any way actually been beneficial or helpful for you? Because I know previous guests of mine, it's kind of hit or miss.
Absolutely. I really appreciate my time at the conservatory because I got to delve into so many different aspects of acting and studying all of the, original acting teachers. You go over the method and you go over Meisner and you cover all of that. And it gives you such a great base and toolbox to draw from. So that was a great launching pad for me. And then I also took stage combat classes as part of my curriculum, and they were always super fun, like kind of the highlight of my day in a lot of ways. I wish I could, I don't wish I could say because I like how things have gone and I like my path, but it actually just did not occur to me that would be a career path for me. I just knew that they were fun. So even at that point, I didn't foresee the future that I'm in now.
That's kind of what opened the door for you to be like, oh, this might be something I'm interested in. It kind of pulled you in that direction of stunts.
Yeah, we had some people that I remember came in and talked to us in one of my stage combat classes about the stunt world. And that was kind of the first time that I even recognized that was a career. It hadn't really occurred to me before. I don't know. I didn't think that the actors did their own thing, but I just had never really thought about it. It was more after I graduated, I started meeting a lot of stunt people and hanging out with them as friends. And they were just cool people. And especially, I like a lot of people. I started with some background work just to get on set and feel feel it out. And the stunt people were always the coolest people on set to me.
Oh
They were
yeah,
just like so fun and laid back and like
always the best.
effortlessly cool.
They don't even try. They're so cool. They
Right?
don't even
Yeah.
try. It bothers me. Like how? How do you do this? It's just this presence they bring.
Exactly. I think so too. And I think that was really what got me to hang out with them. And then I started getting invited to stunt workouts, which are just kind of stunt people getting together in somebody's backyard and like working on stunts,
Okay.
working on little fight scenes and whatnot.
So anyone that's interested in maybe going the direction of stunt work, is that kind of a good way to go about it? You know, make friends on set and reach out to folks, or is there actually like training classes of some sort, or is there anything out there that is a good direction to kind of help people go towards if they're interested in the stunt world?
My path is kind of unique in that I started in acting and then got into stunts. A lot of people who end up in stunts trained as kids in martial arts or gymnastics or even dance, or
Oh wow.
have some sort of background like that. Or like there will be horse people that grew up with horses, and so they kind of get in through the horse stunts. And
I've met a few equestrian, I believe, equestrian,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
equestrian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I met a few of those folks. They're pretty cool, and some of them I met are actually they came from the animal wrangler world and then got into stunts.
Yeah, so you can kind of go from whatever your athletic background is. Like some people will have been really into sports, and that's something that you could start with when you are getting into stunts, because maybe they need like basketball players.
Tons of sports movies out there.
Something like that in a film, and they want people who can actually play. And then that's a good way to meet other stunt performers who are good at basketball, and then you just break in that way by meeting people. It's all about relationships, right? This entire industry is about relationships. And I think one important note about that is like not so much networking as just making friends. If you come at people and it's like you just met someone, you're like, how do I get into stunts? And can I, like, we're always open to like talking about it, but it can be kind of a smaller community and everybody knows everybody. And that can help as long as you're not like, so can you like send me all of the stunt coordinators' phone numbers that you know? Like, and you're like, whoa.
Don't overwhelm stunt people.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I mean, especially if you're on set, you know, they're there to do a job. They've worked their way to that position. So yes, say hi, introduce yourself. Let them even know, hey, I'm interested in the world, but like, don't force that. Don't push that on someone. Don't put someone in a corner.
Don't be weird.
Yeah, don't be weird. That's the key. It's you see it a lot too. Just don't be weird. Keep it cool. They're easygoing folks. Wait till after the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, especially if they're gearing up for a stunt that's, they really do need to focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like as long as it's not right before they're doing a stunt, like I have talked to lots of people that maybe were doing background or doing a stand-in role, especially. Actually, stand-in isn't a bad way to get into something, because if you're kind of training stunts, but then you're already standing in for someone and they decide that they need a stunt double and you already kind of look like that person and match them, like that's not a bad way to kind of break in. I've seen that happen before.
That's great.
Yeah, it's nice.
Just adjust the wig and you're good to go. So tell me, for you personally in your journey here, you started out doing acting and then got into stunt world. What was your first kind of breakthrough for you? What happened for you? Can you finish? I know you said that you made some friends and kind of start working your way that direction. How did that all fall into place for you?
Yeah, that was how I started, just training. And then even then I didn't plan on it becoming a career. I was just having fun with friends, but learning more and more. Like you go back and watch some of those initial videos of you training stunts and you're like, oh my God, I hope no one ever sees this because it's so bad. But everyone starts somewhere.
Right.
And that's how I started. And I just got better over time working with people that knew what they were doing, and especially like starting to learn about how camera angles work and how much, like, especially coming from acting, a pitfall that can happen is you can get too into the acting of it and like go too hard or hit too hard, because like you might make light contact with stunts. You likely will for like stomach punches or things like that. You might do some light contact and then everything else, any hits to the face will be done with camera angles. But that's something that you kind of, if you're doing both and you're coming from acting and getting into stunts, you need to be aware of, because it's a different mindset. You have to be a lot more safety minded for stunts rather than like acting it so fully. Like you have to find a way to act it, but not have that impact, how much impact you're making, how much effort you're putting behind your hits. So that was something that I worked actually with like a wall, because if you are hitting the wall and hurting your hand, you're hitting too hard.
Wow, that's good to
So
know. Yeah.
yeah, it's a way to make sure you're not hitting your buddy too hard, and then training with people that will tell you like, "Oh, you got me on that one. Let's try that again." And yeah, just kind of being surrounded by people that are patient and willing to work with you. But I actually got into stunts through the live show route, which has become pretty popular, and I'm glad that it's becoming more respected within the stunt community because so many people have come from live shows. And for anyone who doesn't know what live shows are,
Yeah, please elaborate.
yeah, a lot of theme parks will have live stunt shows.
Okay, like the Batman show, the Western shows, the
Right,
Jaws stuff.
exactly. So a lot of those are the older ones, and those are ones that like people had done when they were younger, and those people are now coordinators.
Oh, cool.
So it's nice that more and more people are coming from that and then maturing in the industry to a place of being able to hire people. And then they have done it. So they appreciate how much people learn on a live show and how when you're doing that every single day, day in, day out, that is a ton of practice that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah.
And being able to do it consistently and not hurt people and being able to repeat things, which would be super great when you're on set and you need to do multiple takes.
Yeah, you learn your timing, your steps. You kind of get a repetitiveness that almost becomes second nature. Without it's almost like you're not even thinking about it after a while. You just do it.
But at the same time, keeping it fresh. So because the people that come to see you at the 5:00 show are just as excited as the people that came to see you at the 1:00 show. And you have to bring that same freshness and excitement. And when you're portraying the roles and the characters, especially when you're playing like iconic superhero characters that these kids don't know that you're not the real superhero and you have to be that for them and bring that to life. And as well, at the same time that you're keeping all of your coworkers safe.
That's awesome. Is there any dangers that you have to, safety wise be aware of and that you guys face? I know it's a silly question because obviously you do stunts, there's dangers, but would you be able to elaborate on anything for us? And have you personally dealt with anything serious that has hurt you in any way?
That is a part of the business. You will get hurt. It's not if, it's when. Hopefully not too badly. Like I have had a couple black eyes and I have a permanent retainer in my mouth that once I got hit in the mouth and it got popped off. That one was really bad because I had to go to the dentist. I hate going to the dentist. I've had a couple concussions, but over time, like, that's spread out throughout this time that I've otherwise been living a life I love.
It didn't all happen at once.
Right. So it's worth it to me, but definitely something to consider. Like not everyone wants to put up with that, and that's totally valid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You need to know your worth. You need to know, what you're doing and what you're willing to do.
Yeah. It's all about training so that you can, limit how much that happens. It's funny because stunts are a calculated risk. Like we will train and train and train and block things out and plan for as many eventualities as we can possibly think of how things could go wrong and how to prevent that. So everyone is looking out for safety, safety, safety. And so we kind of laugh when people are like, well, don't you get hurt? And it's like, because we're more likely to like go step off a curb wrong and twist our ankle because that's the thing that we didn't think of being a problem. So it's funny the things that get you because you're like, sometimes I like get out of a car and like somehow manage to like hit my hand as I'm getting out of the car and I'm like, man, like why is it the things that are just so dumb that you're like, that hurt?
Not jumping off of a cliff or a rock wall, just stepping out of a car. Yeah, I can deep sea dive, I can do backflips, but I can't step out of a car or ride a bike.
I'm like getting ready in the bathroom, I like bang my elbow and I'm like, wow, where is all that proprioception that I had been working so hard on at the gym?
Practice.
Right.
Well, thank you for sharing a lot of that with us.
Yeah.
As you've grown in your journey here, like you said, you started off in acting and going to school and setting an example for your siblings. Great job.
Thank you.
And then you made your way into the stunt world through friends and those connections there, and something that you found yourself kind of getting pulled into because you just really enjoyed the time that you were spending with everyone. And so once you got into the live shows, you started, I guess, getting opportunities to step onto features and series, and I'm guessing other both studio maybe and independent shows and TVs.
That's right.
Awesome. Could you kind of take us through any of that you can talk about?
Yeah. I had gone to the live shows and did one called Marvel Universe Live for like 3 years. And it was basically like getting paid to travel the world and learn stunts. And so many of us were on that for such a long duration. Like I did 3 years.
Wow, that's a career. Yeah.
Yeah. You're leveling up at the same time as all of these other people that you came in with, and everyone's like skill sharing, and as well as like you've got rehearsals and you've got like workshop days where you just all get together and work high falls or whatever. And I kind of hadn't realized how much I had learned until I came home and I started auditioning for other things, and it suddenly wasn't difficult anymore. Like I kept booking things, more live shows, which is really nice to just have that day job to keep you going as you work on the career that you want, because it is that constant training. So I've done like 4 or 5 different live shows now throughout the years, and that was all great. And then the more people you're meeting, right, the more relationships you're building,
Networking.
Yeah, now people are thinking of you when they are working on an independent short film or feature film that's got some stunts in it, and they want to, oh, hey, I know someone, and then you can build experience that way. Stunts is somewhat unlike acting, is once you're getting into the film and TV that's like network and stuff, they really won't look at you unless you're SAG. So a lot of that, like for fun training with friends, is really helpful in the beginning to like build up that experience, because in order to start getting hired professionally as a stunt performer, you have to be SAG-AFTRA because there's so much liability involved. I remember when I was kind of SAG eligible for quite a while, and I'm glad I didn't join before I went on tour, because I was eligible for a while and I kept thinking about joining, but then I got that tour and I would have been paying dues for 3 years for no reason because I wasn't at home. So I'm glad I waited. So make sure your timing is right, of course. That's still like a thing that's important to think of for everyone. But when I got back and I did join, I remember, well, before I joined, I was eligible, like I was saying, and I remember going on set. There's this, it's called hustling. It's kind of not a thing right now because of COVID, and we're kind of still recovering from that. But before COVID, you would go on a set and you sneak on a set, really. You would see like the yellow filming signs, or a buddy would let you know, he's like, hey, on the down low, we're filming, and if you want to come by, like, you didn't hear it from me. And you go seek out the stunt coordinator and give him your headshot and resume. Well, a snapshot, really. They don't really do headshots, and because they want to see what your body looks like right now at the moment. So you'll give like a snapshot, full body picture, and your info, and then show them your reel. And this is not only, it blew my mind coming from acting, because this is, you would be escorted off the set and like blacklisted if you came as an actor.
It's best to try and do it at location areas. Don't sneak onto a studio lot. That's not going to help. But definitely, if you see someone filming in your neighborhood, go say hi. Be cool.
I look forward to it coming back. I really do. I hope it comes back.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone still has to be tested, so like it's not
tough.
a good thing right now. But it blew my mind as an actor that you could just, not only is it accepted but encouraged, because it kind of shows that you have the balls to sneak on a set and you know how to handle yourself in a way that's not distracting to anyone. You're not going to walk in front of camera. Like, it's kind of like a rite of passage.
I was before I did my location manager work, I grinded doing PA work for many years. And when I got to Los Angeles and was working out here, I started running background and helping out the background world. And when you run background world, you also help coordinate with the stunts world, because you get really busy. And sometimes the people handling first team, when you're on big shows that have a lot of cast, you tend to, push some of the help towards the stunt world, because you want to treat them just as well as you treat your cast, because they too are doing a professional acting job, and they got to go through a lot of health and risk assessment management, all that good stuff. And you just want to make sure they're happy and comfortable. So in that world, and doing so, I learned through a mutual friend of ours that helped get us in touch, who has returned the favor because I helped her come on a show and hustle, which was really cool. That the stunt coordinators, a lot of times in these shows, I'd be like, hey, there's some guy here says he knows you. And he's like, what's his name? And I'd be like, this is the name they gave me. And they're like, all right, cool, send them in. They'll come in, I'll watch them shake hands, talk like they knew each other, just exchange a real polite, probably 2-minute conversation, shake hands again, walk away. And I'm like, we're all good. And they're like, yeah, I was just hustling. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Every day. And that was what I learned. Like, it's a thing. It really happened. Because they want to see you have the balls to come on the set and walk up to them and shake their hand and introduce yourself and talk.
Yes.
And also at the same time, minding the rules and the set etiquette that's going on and knowing the time to get in. It's really clever. And it's almost like a non-violent hazing.
Yeah, and we always appreciate when you go on a set and you're kind of keeping an eye out for the coordinator. Maybe you haven't found him yet, but you get the PAs that have been around, and they kind of come up and they're like, "Hey, you stunts?" And you're like, "Maybe." And they're like, You looking for the coordinator? Yeah. Follow me. And like,
Yep.
and they are so glad that they spotted you because they're experienced. And so it feels good for them and it feels good for you because you're like, wow, I'm like, I have the stunt vibe. Like they knew.
After that first time where I found out what a hustle was, I started noticing it more and more. I would see some, and
Yep.
it was great because you'd see them, they'd come and go. They'd come and go, and you'd be like, this person's been hanging. Because when you're a PA, your eyes on everything, and you're watching
Mm-hmm.
everything. So you know who your crew is, and you know who pedestrians in the area are, and who the locals are, and you're just making sure everyone's happy. And you start to see a few faces that just keep popping up, and they may show up for an hour or two, hang around, not go anywhere nearby, and then the next day they'll come right back and do it again. You just start to see these, and then you'll go up to them like, hey, you stunts? It just falls into place. It's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's cool. I completely forgot about that experience when
Yeah.
doing my own background world.
I think my first hustle might have been in like 2018 or something. And that's where I was going with that. I totally got sidetracked. But what I
Sorry.
was going to say is that when I was hustling, I remember a particular hustle that as an actor on my acting side of things, it was a good thing that I was SAG eligible because I'm like, well, I can still work non-union, but I can like join really fast if something good comes up for SAG. But I was hustling and I was such a good hustle because I had known the stunt coordinator before. I'd actually worked with him on one of the live shows. He had choreographed us. And then he wasn't needed on set at that moment. So we like hung out, like talking, catching up for like an hour. And I'm like, oh, this is going so good. And then he was like, oh, I think I can maybe use you soon. You're SAG, right? And I was like, well, I'm eligible. And he's like, oh. And I was like, but I could join at any time. He's like, yeah, let me know when you're SAG. And it just like completely changed the conversation. And he's like, because he can't use me, like he
Yeah.
can't pitch me to producers or anything until I'm SAG. And it was kind of eye-opening for me. So that's a hurdle that you'll have to kind of deal with when you are on that edge. And so many of us, like by the time I did actually join for Stunts, I then didn't work on a stunt project for like almost a year.
Wow.
So it's a time that you're just gonna have to figure out when's the right time to join. And it's a hard thing to guess at, but I couldn't have gotten in without it. So, but hustling is great. So, and then in 2019, I was so excited because I had finally got like the formula down for hustling. Like I had gone from like being terrified my first time and you're just like shaking. And then I happened to like pick a coordinator that was awesome, that had been recommended to me for my first hustle because he was so accepting and happy to like see young stunt performers hustling. Greg Barnett, I'm sure if any stunt performer is missing, they're like, Greg, Chiefy, because he will straight up like demand that you go eat with him or he's never giving you a job. Like
you have to be his friend.
Yes, he wants to like chat with you and find out where you're coming from, and he totally gives back in that way, which is awesome.
Great. Like he cares. He invests in you and he wants to see if you're worth investing in yourself. I like
Absolutely.
that. Or excuse me, if you're willing to invest in yourself.
Yes. You could not ask for a better first hustle. And sometimes you get the ones that they're just busy and they can't see you right then. And then there's a few that you'll learn don't really love hustlers. So you kind of just have to feel it out, be respectful, and whatever they need or don't need, that you kind of get a feel for it. But in 2019, I had like 50 hustles. And I was so proud of myself. I kept track of all of them and maybe got their emails and would follow up. And I was like really excited. And I'm like, man, 2020, I'm going to beat that number. And then it was 2020. So that did not happen.
And then COVID beat a number instead.
Yeah. So I really hope it comes back because I really miss that way of connecting. And I feel like it brings the community together.
That's great. Yeah. And I miss those pre-COVID times, but we are getting some semblance of normalcy. And as we move forward into the new year, I hope that we continue to see a little bit more improvement and eventually get back to the things that we really enjoy and that we haven't been able to fully do yet. But it is slowly coming back. So I want to move along here before we get into some questions. You made a feature film recently, independently, and it is called The Mean One. We talked about it at the beginning of the show for a brief moment. Could you elaborate for us a little bit of a short synopsis of the film and exactly what you did and what your part in it was? And feel free to mention any crew members and whatever else that made this dream work for everyone, that made this film happen.
Yeah, it is called The Mean One, and we are currently in theaters. It is an independent feature that is based on a classic tale of a green grump in a Santa suit
Familiar.
And yeah, and I play Cindy in it. And it started out as just a trailer. We got together, some friends. The director called me because we'd worked together before. Stephen Lamorte is his name, and we'd worked together before on a short.
Come on the show, Steve.
Yeah, a short Powerpuff Girls fan film. And I had played
Cool.
Bubbles.
I grew up on that. Okay, I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's
That's
on
awesome.
YouTube. It's called Powerpuff Girls The Long Way Back. And that had been such a fun experience. And that actually kind of blew up on its own right for a little bit. It was a fan film, so it couldn't like really make money. But on YouTube, we had quite the following for a bit.
I bet it brought in the views.
Yeah, it was really great and super fun to work on. And I got to do both acting and stunts in that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So when the director called me and said he had this idea, I was like, I'm game. This sounds great. And kind of wanted this character to be an adult version of, since the classic tale is a little girl, wanted the adult version and kind of what that would look like with me avenging my parents who had gotten slaughtered by this character. So I really liked that story arc and character. So we made the trailer and it was just going to be that. But then the internet got it and they were like, this looks amazing. And everyone was so excited and wanted to know when the movie was coming out. And we're like, oh no, that was it. Like we were just for fun. Like
ta-da, that's done.
Fun little trailer, like this horror action version of this classic tale. And then I got a call in like February, late January maybe of this last year. And they're like, well, everybody loved it. So we thought we'd try our hand at a script. And you want to read this feature script we've got now? I was like, what? This is happening.
Was it because of the success of this video on YouTube? Did you have actual investors come out to you guys? Did they actually reach out to you being like, hey, we actually want to try and help make this happen? Or was that something that just became a part of the process after you guys wrote the script and everything and really try to push this feature?
I'm not sure of that timeline, which happened first because I'm not producing on it, but I know that at some point, either after they decided that we were already going to make it anyway, or somewhere in there, we did get producers involved and then later like distribution involved and wanted it to stream and found out ways to work around. There is like copyright material. So we had to make a parody film and follow all of the parody laws.
Yep.
So they all did all of that. And I'm grateful to them because I just got to be the main actor on this and I wasn't involved in the producing of it, but they are awesome. Stephen Lamorte is the king of like hustle and follow through, because I'm sure so many people out there know the story of like you're working on something and you think it's going to be great. You're excited about it, especially if it's low budget. Maybe you're working for like little to no money and giving your time and then just nothing ever happens with it. It doesn't come out. It dies in post-production somewhere. And you're like, no.
I was just about to say, I'm so excited to hear that you guys were able to get the feature up and running and that you were able to get producers and distribution and some kind of funds for it, because, you know, a lot of the time you, especially on the show and with other friends, you talk to them, a lot of that, you hit that wall when it comes to money. So it's really nice to see some kind of success come out of this for you guys, especially the fact that, you know, this movie's out now playing in Regal, at the time of the recording, it's out playing in Regal theaters and soon to be coming to streaming devices. So definitely keep an eye out for the mean one.
Yeah. So I'm super appreciative to them for actually making it happen, because we had a really quick filming schedule because they were determined that it was going to come out the same year. I don't know if that was like something that had to happen with the distribution and producers, if that was their call, or like Steven just really wanted to make that happen, but he does. He makes things happen.
To write, create, film, edit, and put it out all in the same year, that's impressive right there in itself.
Absolutely is. That's
a
huge. And usually, you know, you're working on cool stuff and you're like, yeah, but I can't talk about it for like the next 2 years. And then we just hope that it actually comes out.
And now you get to talk about it.
And got to ride the whole wave. Like, this has been such a cool year. Not only filming it with everyone, but then watching it, like, man, the first time they put out a single photo and a short synopsis and the internet exploded again. Like, everyone was so excited about it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. We thought that it was just gonna stream maybe, like, and then everyone was so excited about it that soon we were going to theaters, and it was such a dream come true.
It's a career building opportunity, and it's paying off. And congratulations to you, Krystle, and to your entire team and the entire film casting crew that worked on this. It sounds like it's a lot of hard work that really paid off, and paid off handsomely. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. This is really cool.
Thank you.
All right. So I appreciate you sharing your journey with us and your experience, and where you are today. Obviously, you've made it. Congratulations! And it never really ends. You never really just make it and stop. You continue to grow, and you continue to learn and develop your skills. And I kind of want to just go through some fun questions out there for you. So again, anyone looking to get into stunts, they can derive some knowledge from you and some inspiration. So my first question is, what's the biggest challenge you had to overcome? And maybe you're still working on overcoming it.
I would say I kind of talked about how my journey was different. Like I came from high school drama, but I hadn't really even thought to like work out until I was in college because the gym was free and it was right there at the university. So I didn't have the benefit of having prior martial arts or gymnastics. Like my family didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I didn't do any of those extracurricular activities. So I had to learn it all from scratch, specifically for stunts. And I'm glad to say that I've been successful at it, but it's constantly an ongoing process. Like being in stunts you're always training. That is really the job. And then
every day's
occasionally
a challenge.
you get that. Yeah, that's like the reward to all of your training. And I think the same is true of actors. Like you should be constantly training as an actor and be in class as much as possible, or even just like at least working on your own monologues or doing something to further your skill sets that you can bring to the table.
I have a lot of friends that they act and they write, and we get together every now and then, and someone's like, hey, I wrote this short, or I wrote this little feature, and we do these little table reads. And it's wonderful because when you have friends that actually want to act, they do such a great job of bringing your script to life. Possibly, if it's me, horribly written, but they bring it to life and show so much love. And it's one of those things where like you have these friends you work with, anything helps develop your skills. And my friends that do this, they don't have to bring this thing to life like they do, but they're actors. That's what they want to do. And they really show me notes. And it's like, this is a wonderful way to learn. For me, it's a great way to help me write because I have someone who, like you, is an actor and is really putting the effort and the energy into something that absolutely going nowhere at the moment. But it's that dedication and it's that love of the craft. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. And if you don't have that love of the craft, like there are way better ways to go out and make money. Like you should really only be in this industry if you can't see yourself doing anything else because this just lights your soul on fire. Like
exactly.
If you have that passion, that's what's going to keep you going. And as far as other things that were kind of struggles or challenges, I think I'm sure a lot of other people have dealt with this too, where there are dry spells in this industry. And there were times where I was working 6 jobs and somehow was still struggling to pay rent because you're trying to stay available for auditions or whatnot. And yeah, I look back at that time and I'm like, I remember going to like sell DVDs to make rent. Like we had like a resale place near my house and I would walk there with like, okay, I guess I don't need these ones. Like,
I've done that journey.
Yes.
I've lost half my collection doing that.
Yeah.
She got to pay the bills.
The struggle is real. And that's why I think it is so important to like, it can get really glorified to be the starving artist. And I don't think that's entirely necessary. I think you should try to find something that works well and keeps like all of your basic needs met, because I went through that and you can make it and you should stick with it, follow your dream and all of that, but also like take care of yourself. And for me, that was finding a day job that was live shows. Like live shows was what worked for me so that I could be doing that. But then you're also working with a ton of other performers who are really happy to cover for you when needed because they all do the same thing. And I know a lot of people find that with like serving jobs. I did serving for a while too. And when everyone else is working in the industry and they'll cover for you, like that's important. But that was a way that I made it through. But definitely a good thing to take care of yourself first, because you don't want to burn out of the business because you just can't get through the financial
Right.
rough
And you
times.
need that stability in life too, especially to get by. So thank you for the heads up on that. That's a good challenge to be aware of, is that, trying to just live your life while pursuing this dream can be very difficult.
And longevity is important in this business, and
Very much so.
tenacity and perseverance.
Well, speaking of perseverance, what's something unexpected you had to face? Maybe it's something that you learned in the moment. When you do this, when you go out in the stunt world and your 9 to 5, you know what the run through is, you know what you're going to be doing. But was there ever anything that you faced that you were completely caught off guard by, that was completely unexpected, and you had to kind of you adapted, you learned in the moment?
I think hustling was one where I was like, I'm sorry, we have to do what? When someone was explaining that to me, it just didn't make any sense from an actor's perspective. I was like, wait, I'm just supposed to like sneak on the set? Like, won't they like be mad? So that was one that I remember just being kind of, that's different.
That is very different. Yeah, that's definitely something you don't expect. Like, how do I get this job? Well, you go and you sneak on a set and find one. I'm sorry, what? That's a good answer. So you did answer already. Thank you.
I think that something to overcome, it kind of happened gradually for me, but like our mind, you have this self-preservation instinct that you will have to work through and confront as a stunt performer. Like, even if you're already adrenaline junkie, right? There will be times in your stunt training and your career that you have to do scary things. And it's all about kind of managing that stress response and knowing that you've trained for something and that you know the pitfalls of it and the potential risks, and you're mitigating those. So for instance, the first time I was on fire,
Oh, okay.
I was doing my first fire burn, and I am super grateful that my friend Jason Tate, I worked with him on a live show, and he had done fire burns before and coordinated them and had a really great knowledge of them. And he helped me do my first one. And he had the brilliant idea that I will forever do with anyone that I'm teaching fire burns to, is to only do your arm first, because you have to understand how your brain is going to respond, because your brain goes, I'm on fire! And
Yeah, I bet.
totally natural response, that you then have to have this inner monologue of like, no, I've trained for this. Like, this is how it's supposed to feel. The gel is doing its job. It's warm, not too hot. And you have
That's
to
intense.
understand how to talk to yourself. And so that was really great, because then you do we did a full back burn, and then eventually you do a full body burn, and which is another great thing in stunts, is just building and going systematically, progressing a little at a time. And that's how you can build up to more and more dangerous stunts. But you need to start at the beginning and then work your way up, and not just try to jump in. So I was really grateful that I had the experience of just having my arm on fire and not trying to act it or like sell it or anything, just letting the fire do its thing and know what it's going to look like and feel like before I needed to do a full performance of it and be on camera. Because of course you're wanting the fire burn footage.
It's a test
but
burn.
Now you don't have to do it all at once. Yes, test burn is great.
I agree with you. I think setting yourself on fire and then having to be completely calm is totally something unexpected. Your body is definitely not expecting that. So that's a really unique perspective.
Yeah, and then there will be multiple moments where you're building on something that freaks you out, and you have to become more comfortable with it, like high falls. You'll start from jumping off of like 5 feet and just getting that feeling, and then you'll go to 10 and 20 and work your way up. But once you get higher, and every time you go up a step to like the next 10 feet, every time, even when you've been doing it a while, you're like, whoa, that's a little higher than I'm used to. And you kind of have that moment. And then so much of stunts is just learning that inner monologue and that positive self-talk and going through the visualization of how this will go and how you want it to go, and working it through in your mind and controlling your breathing and finding that kind of Zen focus right before you go. And that was something that I didn't know was going to be so integral to this career.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, well, I have another question, and I feel like you may have already answered it, because it seems like at this rate, all these questions, I ask them to all of my guests that come on, to all the independent artists out there, but it seems like the answer for you is everything. So I want to ask you, what is a hard reality you've had to deal with and accept? Something discouraging that you pushed through, or maybe you even resolved it?
Kind of like I had said before, like coming from a family without, I did not come from a family where this makes any sense. Like even just going into acting, my family was like, what, why? And like, because for years I really thought I would become a high school or like maybe middle school teacher. And I thought that maybe I would teach English and I'd teach drama because I enjoyed both of those things. And as a big sister, I grew up, working well with kids and I babysat a lot. So that all made sense to me. And I was kind of on that track. I really thought I would do that for like 5 years. That was my career that I would tell everyone I was going to do. And then I just really fell for acting and I loved it in high school and I was in a lot of plays. And that's when I was like, well, I don't want to be 80 years old in my rocking chair and be like, I've had a good life, but I wonder what would have happened if I just really kind of gone for the dream, And so I did, and I wanted to give it a shot, and I'm really glad I did that and stuck with it. And I think maybe just not having the background coming into it, like, and just starting from scratch, like I had kind of a switch go off in my career that I wasn't expecting. Like I thought I was just going to act, and then went through making friends with stunt people and training and getting live shows. And then that like turned it into this like kind of dual career that has been great. And I think just being open to opportunities that present themselves. And because I remember when I booked that live show, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm finally making traction with my acting career, which is funny because I look back and I'm like, no, I wasn't. But at the time, I really felt like I did. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't leave LA right now. Like, I don't want people to forget who I was. And I remember somebody, I can't even remember who, probably several somebodies were like, LA is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. Like, go run with this opportunity that you have because they're paying you to travel the world. Like I got to go to the US and Canada and 16 cities in Europe, and just I did so much growing up in that time that I now have that life experience to draw upon for any characters I want to play, in addition to all of the things I learned for stunts. Like it was such an integral moment, and I'm so glad that I went with that opportunity.
I think you're the first person to answer my question about a hard reality with a very plus side answer at the end, where it's like, well, my whole life turned upside down, but it worked out wonderfully. Yeah. I think that's great. And the bright side is you yourself are looking into trying to become a stunt coordinator yourself. So here comes the teaching coming back to you. So it's never really over. You just waited a little bit. That's all.
It's so funny you point that out because I think that I am just an eternal optimist, and I know I didn't really answer your question because
no, you did. I mean, to be honest, a hard reality is when your whole life gets turned upside down. You have to accept. All right, now what? Push forward.
Yeah,
and that's what you do.
Yeah, but it was definitely like kind of a hard thing to, if you want. A lot of people want this career and they come from with a whole background. And so I definitely had moments about like kind of an imposter syndrome of like, I feel like I'm just playing a stunt performer and not like actually a stunt performer. But then, you keep booking, you keep learning, you keep training, and it all works out.
You just do you. That's what I say. Well, now a little bit more lighthearted, even though you just made the hard question very lighthearted.
I don't know how not to do that.
It's great. No, I love it. I'm the same way. I'm very optimist. I just find the positive, even in a negative. I find the positive because that's what pushes me forward. And I love that attitude come from you, especially for someone who, yes, you act and you do your own stunts, but you put yourself out there and you put not just your mental health, but your physical health on the line. So you got to be optimistic if you're going to be doing that. You got to be.
Yeah.
But what is the most valuable takeaway you've learned from your experience? Something that maybe helped you grow and improve as the artist that you are, both an actor and a stunt woman.
You learn to work with everyone and surround yourself with the people that you vibe with people that make you feel loved and feel encouraged and inspired. But it's also important to go work with people that, maybe don't make you feel that way all the time, but you learn how to work with them amicably and get through that time, because you should be able to work with anyone. And sometimes there can be some egos in stunts. Like that's something that comes up, and I'm sure in acting as well. And hopefully you just work with people in a way that you all get the job done, in a way that no one comes out crying at the end of the day. And I'm glad that I had the times where that was like maybe difficult to work with certain people, especially, and anyone who's worked in live shows knows that there can be like some drama in live shows. Because you're all like just stuck together, especially on a touring show, like as great as it was. And as glad as I am that I did it, part of the being glad is like the times that I worked with people that were maybe not fans of me, or like that you just kind of bump heads because you're around each other all the time. And I'm glad that I had those experiences too, because now I can work with anyone and make it work, and then choose my friends as well that make me feel amazing.
The plus side with working with someone that you may butt heads with from time to time or not fully get along with personality wise, but professionally you'll get the best critique, because you'll get that honest critique that you didn't even ask for.
You're like, thanks for letting me know I should examine that more.
Appreciate it. Break a leg, wink, wink. Yeah, I know that feeling. So yeah, I think what you said is a great takeaway. And it sounds like teamwork. It's teamwork. It really does, because you have to trust each other. And you have to, whether you get along personally or not, when you're doing a job professionally, you've got to trust each other. And
Excellent
I think that's
point.
a great takeaway.
So much of stunts is trust. You literally have each other's lives in your hands.
Now, my next question is, it's kind of more related to the mean one, but I wanted to know, we talked about the unexpected earlier. What did you expect and or want from the project that you worked on from the mean one? What was it you were wanting from that project?
I do like kind of a end of year journaling every year to figure out what was working and what maybe I want to examine as going forward. And one of the things that I wrote down, well, now we're in a new year, but like at the year before, was that I had gotten pretty successful and pretty regular work stunts wise, but that I was really kind of missing acting. So I had written down and kind of manifested for myself that like I wanted to go with more acting opportunities. And that's part of why I had just like done that trailer. And then when this came up, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I wanted, more acting opportunities. And then it had some stunts in there as well. And I got to do both and combine them, which was great. And it was like maybe the week before we shot, and I'm learning all my lines and the script and everything. And I don't know why it hadn't occurred to me before, but I had this epiphany of like, oh, this is my first time starring in a feature film. Like I hadn't done that before.
This is it. This is your moment.
Yeah.
Spotlight's on you.
So grateful to have had that opportunity, especially when I most was wanting that. And this character, I really loved the way it was written and loved the story arc, and kind of my entire acting reel is in this movie. Like it was in the way that it was written. I have like action scenes, and I've got emotional scenes, and I've got love scenes, and I've got, it's like a little bit of everything. And that was really fun to play with.
All that hard work finally accumulated into one space.
Yep. Try to train, and be prepared for when opportunity strikes.
Excellent answer. All right. So tell me, Krystle, what motivates you? What's your drive? Why do you do this?
I just follow my passion. If somebody presents an opportunity and it sounds like fun, that's where I want to go with it. And, being able to support yourself along the way is really cool. I think everyone should follow their dream and what their passion is. And if it doesn't exist, make it. So many people are like YouTube stars now because they took something that they love to do and made like informational videos on how to do macrame, or like whatever it is. Like, there is a way to try to make money off of it. Or, it maybe that's not your jam, and like that you want to, some people will lose the passion if they're trying to make money off of it. So I totally understand, like maybe just keeping your hobby on the side and then working a job that maybe is more about just making money so that you can do the thing you love. But I would say just make sure that life is too short to not do what you love. If you're just existing and you don't have something in your life that is just fun and just gets you excited. And it's funny, I was at a New Year's Eve brunch yesterday, and somebody asked like, so things seem to be like going well for you right now. And they're like, how is the motion capture going? They asked about that because it was like a bunch of motion capture people I was hanging out with. And I was like, I hadn't even said anything. And she's like, oh my God, your face just like lit up. And I think everybody needs that. Like, and then we started talking. Yes. when I started talking to her about it, she's like, this is like how a Disney princess would talk about her prince.
It's just a floodgate just spewing out.
So I think that everyone should have something in their lives that makes them that happy. And hopefully it can be your career, or it can be like a huge hobby for you, but like something that makes you happy, because life's too short to not follow that.
True. I appreciate how humble you are, considering that you just held all that in until your friend finally asked you. So, and thank you for coming on my show and doing the same. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk and hopefully inspire other people to get to do what they love.
Well, speaking of inspiring other people, my last question for you is there any advice or something you'd like to say to anyone looking to do what you do? And we've already talked about hustling.
Just go for it and never, ever, ever give up. There are several kind of training hubs if you're looking to get into stunts. A lot of people go to JAM, which stands for Joining All Movement. It's a gym where lots of people get together, and certainly lots of people that you could go and observe, and like maybe when they're resting, like talk to about how they got into it, or how just work with them. Everyone is pretty giving in my experience, and as long as you're like respectful and not weird about it, like coming up and asking people about it, people get to talk about themselves, right? So it's always, I find, pretty helpful to just learn from others, and that's how you can break in and meet people. There are a lot of gymnastics gyms where people do the same thing, or parks. You'll see a bunch of people get together and training in city parks around LA. You'll see all this time people getting together and working a sword fight or something.
I've seen them out there with the kick pads and the fall mats. And I was like, hey, that's not Tai Chi in the park. That's a fall mat. I know what that is.
That's our secret society.
Right? You guys are everywhere. Krystle, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was very eye-opening for me, and it was nice to kind of go back down the memory lane of rediscovering what all you guys were doing with that hustling back in the day. Congratulations again on the Mean One. And right now, I just want to hand the platform back over to you, because this is about you. It's about the artist. I know you've been talking this whole time, but please put yourself out there. If people want to follow you, if they want to reach out, if they want to stay up to date on your current projects, how can they go about doing that?
I would say I post most things on Instagram. I'm Krystle in La La Land, and I have a weirdly spelled first name. It's Krystle in La La Land, like LA, because I had just watched that movie when I made my Instagram handle. And I post a lot of my upcoming things on there when I can finally talk about them. I think the next project I have that's coming out, I played a small role as a CIA agent in a movie that's actually coming out in theaters, which is kind of awesome, having them back to back.
Hey, now, is this independent or is this studio?
This is independent.
Okay, great.
They had a pretty good budget, but independent.
That's
and
awesome.
It's called Imani, IMANI, and that's coming out I think this week we've got a premiere. Yeah.
Okay. And as of this recording, it's the new year. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to say to everyone out there listening, I hope you found Krystle's personal experience and her journey in stunts and acting to be very inspiring. I definitely found it encouraging, and I wish nothing but the best for her. And I wish you all success in doing this crazy, crazy world of stunts, putting yourself mentally and physically on the line for an awesome spot on a 1 little second clip of a film. It's amazing sometimes. But thank you all for listening, and until next time, stay golden. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to rate and review, and click that subscribe button for new bi-weekly episodes. As always, the theme music is provided by The Erica Page. Follow us on social media at IPA Sessions Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now we have a TikTok and YouTube. All information and links are in the show notes, so show some love and support for these amazing indie artists. And if you'd like to come on and share your journey as an independent artist, reach out to me via email at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, I hope you found some inspirations for practical application and entertainment.